hid my pregnancy for 7 months. So I was with this guy, and we're going to call him Jaden. He was a senior, and I was a sophomore. We were talking, got into a relationship, and we did the deal. We definitely weren't careful. The summer before I got into my junior year, I got really sick, throwing up every day, and my body just felt weird. So I just felt like maybe I should take a pregnancy test, and I did. It came up pregnant. Then 2 weeks later, I finally gained the courage to finally tell Jaden. And he was so mad and said that he can't ever take care of a child because he's going to college and I had to finish high school. I kind of felt bad because he wasn't a little more sensitive, but he made it seem like it was all my fault that I got pregnant. So he told his older brother about it, and he gave him $500 to give to me to get an abortion. When he gave me the money, I kind of felt irritated that he didn't even want to go with me to get the abortion. So instead, I took the money, bought new clothes, got my hair done, and nails done. And you won't believe what I did to cover this all up. Come back for part 2. Part 2 on how I hid my pregnancy for 7 months. So like I said, I took the $500 my boyfriend gave me to get the abortion, and instead I bought new clothes, hair, and I got my nails done. After buying all of that, I ghosted my boyfriend for like 2 weeks because I was scared that he'd be upset that I didn't get the abortion. Then randomly I get a knock on my door, and it's my boyfriend. He popped up at my door. He was mad at me, questioning why I haven't been talking to him, and wondering if I was giving my attention to another man. I was like, no, I lost my phone. And he could tell that I was lying. And he was like, you're cheating on me. You're sick. I never want to see you again. So glad you got rid of that thing because I never want to raise a child with you. Afterwards, I felt so bad. I tried to message him, but he blocked me. And eventually, he went off to college. So my plan was to try to hide the fact that I was pregnant. Didn't tell my family or friends. Once I had the baby in private, I probably would just throw it in the trash or throw it away somewhere. I don't know. Running out of time, I'll be back with a part 3. Part 3 on how I hid my pregnancy for 7 months. So Jaden completely left me, and there I was just pregnant. And my plan was to wait till I had the baby and just toss it in the trash somewhere, honestly. And I know this sounds crazy, but at the time I was stressed, very delusional and depressed. I thought if I told him I was pregnant, I would ruin his life. And plus, he'd be mad at me because I didn't get the abortion. And also, I started thinking, like, even if I did want to tell him, I couldn't because he blocked me. So to hide my pregnancy, I would wear baggier clothes. When I was around people, I would sit down, and I didn't want to stand up because I didn't want people to see my stomach protruding out. I wouldn't go out anywhere, and the only time I came out was to get food and go to the bathroom. I wasn't going to the doctors, taking any medication. I was just dealing with whatever pain the pregnancy was putting me through. Also, during this time, Jaden got a new girlfriend and was posting her. And I was so sad because I was here alone, holding a baby that he didn't want. At times, I felt the S word. Part 4 will be up next. Part 4 on how I hid my pregnancy for 7 months. So the day comes and I start getting contractions harder each day. And not to mention, I was still in school. Anyways, the day come and it gets really bad, and I told my mom I felt really sick and I needed to stay home, and randomly she's like, no, I'm taking you to the doctors. I'm like, no, I'm not that sick. I just need to stay in bed. And she had said something that really dropped my heart. She said, I know you're pregnant and I don't understand why you hid it for so long. I was just waiting for you to just tell me on your own. Why didn't you just tell me? And from there, I just broke down in tears. Not because of just a horrible contraction, but because I hid it for this long for her to find out my last couple days. So the hospital asked me who the dad was and what do I plan to do with the baby. I then told her that I just wanted to throw it away and get rid of it, and she just cried because she couldn't understand why. So we get to the gynecologist, they take me in, I stay in for a week, and by then I had my little girl. She was premature. Finally looking at her face,
I'm putting my extremely profoundly disabled 7-year-old into a residential facility, so I can forget he exists. I'm not sorry. I can't tell anyone this, even my therapist. Lambaste me if you want, and maybe I even deserve it. I only ask what you would do if you were in my situation. Not what you think people should do. What you would really do. I'm a single mom of 2 boys. 12 and 7. My husband passed away 3 years ago in a work accident. A very large portion of me believe it was a suicide. I can't see him ever making the mistake he made that caused his death, and he had taken an action just before that which ensured his co-workers weren't in the room. I fully believe he killed himself because of our younger son, and no one will ever change my mind. We were told when I was pregnant that he would have Down syndrome. We could handle that, even if it was severe. It turned out he has a chromosome deletion. His disorder is kind of rare, so I won't post which specific one. But suffice to say, he'll never be anything more than he is now or has ever been. And what he is nothing. He doesn't appear to have any awareness and never has. His eyes are locked in one position, He doesn't respond to noise, touch, or pain. He is total care. He is capable of nothing. He is tube-fed and on oxygen. He is in diapers and will be forever. He makes no sounds, no attempts to communicate. He never even really cried as a baby. He has never made an attempt to interact with anyone or his environment. I'm not upset because I got a special needs and imperfect child. I feel the way I feel because this thing takes up 200% of my time and does nothing. I didn't get an imperfect child. I didn't get a child. I don't love him. He doesn't have any personality, there is nothing to love. And yet I'm responsible for him. In addition to his extreme delays, he's also medically fragile. Respiratory crises, fecal impactions, his autonomic nervous system doesn't function properly, issues with his G-tube, infections, pressure sores no matter what we put him on or how we position him. Our older son has suffered because his non-existent brother has colored everything in his life. His medical care gets delayed because there's only one of me and his brother is more critical. We do have a visiting home nurse but only 20 hours a week and we aren't eligible for more. I was starting law school, I gave up my dreams and my plan for my children for this potato. My older son can't do a lot of things he wants to do because of the younger's need for care and appointments. The final straw was I heard a sound. I went into younger son's room to check, thinking he had forgotten how to breathe again, and saw older son hitting him and screaming, "You're why I don't have a mother. You're why I don't have a father. You're why I can't have friends over. You're why I can't be in sports. I didn't ask for you and I hope you die." Instead of being horrified, I watched. And younger son just did not react. No signs of pain or fear or upset. No reaction at all. He breathes but he is not alive. He doesn't know who I am. He doesn't know who older son is. He has no sense of self, life experience, or awareness of his surroundings. He doesn't need to be in my home. He doesn't know or care where he is. He is genetically my son but he is not family. My previously abused, brain-damaged cat who can't walk straight has more personality and is far more lovable than my child. In fact, I was looking forward to raising a Down's baby. Even one with severe impairments, for that reason. With disability can come gifts. This boy is not a gift. He is a genetic mistake. I probably should have miscarried and would have definitely terminated if I'd known he would be like this. And the flip side is, if he has awareness, he's miserable. And there is nothing I can do. If he has likes and dislikes, no one knows what they are. If he is in pain, he can't tell anyone. If he wants anything, he can't communicate. He's had every imaginable therapy, nothing has made a difference. And so he's leaving our home on the 29th. I feel excited and relieved and then guilty because I know we'll be happier with him gone. He's already taken my husband and my son's father. He was working so much, to pay for the cucumber's care. For the experimental therapies insurance wouldn't cover. Because this one was going to be the breakthrough. He was tired and defeated and disappointed. He sought counseling as well but I don't think he could ever say the words "I don't want my son in my home" either. He's ruined my older son. I was so wrapped up on the younger I never realized how ignored and damaged he was. He lost his father too. I didn't just lose my husband. He is my priority now and this malignant lump can be someone else's problem. At least they'll be paid a wage to care for him. At least they'll get a break from him when they punch out. I just want to never think of him again and I'm not sorry. And for that, I'm sorry. Thanks for listening.
Story of the time that we got caught sipping at Christian camp. So every other year during winter break, my parents made me go to this Christian camp. I quickly made friends with these 3 girls and 2 guys. The older we got, the more boring obviously it became, but we were all forced to go. So I'm pretty sure this was when I was maybe 16 or 17, and this year my friend was 22. So she had brought us a clear one and a dark one, and she brought them in water bottles. So we started exploring the entire camp. It was a pretty big camp. And we ended up finding this basement that had a pool table, a mini fridge, a TV. It was actually pretty cool. It was kind of like meant to be, you know what I mean? We're like, wow, we found this really cool chill spot. So the day we decided to sip was actually the last night of the camp. And my friend, who was 22, her parents ended up coming that last day because there was also meetings for adults. So anyway, we're all getting ready in her room and she told her parents, "Don't go in my suitcase because it's really messy and I don't want you guys to judge me." thinking that that would be not suspicious. But obviously it made her parents suspicious. And that same day, we had this really in-depth, Bible study thing talking about how Jesus turned water into wine. And then another meeting about doing the right thing because God sees all. So anyway, the night comes and we all meet in that basement. Before we started sipping, we decided to all pray that we didn't get caught. I'm talking bowing our heads, closing our eyes. Then after that sip, we looked at each other with confusion.
Story time about how I exposed my abusive, toxic boyfriend. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My boyfriend is and has always been very charming. He has a ton of friends and everyone loves him. He's a very good-looking guy and girls are always chasing him. I met him 2 years ago at a party. I had heard a bunch of stuff about him. I heard that he was a player and that he cheated on all of his girlfriends. So when he came up to me at the party, I was really cold. I basically told him I didn't want to talk to him and that I would never give him my number. And unfortunately, this made him try even harder. He could never take no for an answer. He spent an hour trying to convince me to go to have breakfast with him the next day. He was so charming and so good looking. Of course, I eventually said yes. Even a few of his guy friends at the party told me not to go. But of course, I ended up going with him to breakfast the next day. We hung out a few times and then he told me that he liked that I wasn't easy. He told me that I was different from other girls and he asked me to be his girlfriend. I said yes because I was starting to catch feelings. One night we went out with his friends and he started calling me stupid in front of them. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how I exposed my abusive, toxic boyfriend. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. So we went out with his friends one night and he started calling me stupid in front of them. He had never done this before and I was really surprised. I thought maybe he was just doing it to impress his guy friends. That's when I asked him straight up in front of his friends why he kept calling me stupid. One of his friends steps up and says, yeah, why do you keep calling her stupid? He stayed quiet for a second and didn't know what to say. Then he just laughed it off and said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was doing that. That's when his friends started asking me questions about myself. I told him I was studying to be an engineer and that I had graduated with top honors. Well, let's just say they were all super impressed. We finally got into his car and he was driving me home. I was upset at him, so I decided not to give him a kiss goodnight. I started getting out of the car and he grabbed my wrist really hard. He pulled me back into the car and forcefully kissed me. He said that I embarrassed him in front of his friends, but that he'd give me a pass for it. I was actually in shock. A few weeks later, we were at the mall and he pulled my hair because he said I was looking at some guy. I tried to get up and leave and he wouldn't let me. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how I exposed my abusive, toxic boyfriend. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. So at the mall, he pulled my hair back because he thought I was looking at a guy. Then I tried to get up from the table, but he wouldn't let me. That's when he said he was going to have to control me more from now on, because clearly I was trying to look for other guys. Then he dropped me off at my dorm room and insisted on coming up. I told him I didn't want him to and that we should reconsider the relationship. I told him he needed to cool off and reconsider how he treated me. That's when he started to cry instantly. He started apologizing and told me that I was right. Then he told me that he loved me. We hadn't used that word before. I didn't realize at the time that he was totally manipulating me. And unfortunately, I decided to give him another chance. A few days later, he asked me why I didn't tell him I loved him back. I told him I just wasn't sure. Then he started yelling at me, telling me that there were so many girls ready for him to be single, and that he had a girl text him every single night, but he would say no just because of me. So I told him I loved him. After that, he was a lot nicer. Until one night, he slapped me. Part 4 is up. Part 4 of how I exposed my abusive, toxic boyfriend. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I sent me on Instagram. One night, he took me out to dinner and started asking me all these weird questions. He wanted to know about my last ex and why we broke up. And when I didn't give him enough information, he got really angry. When we got in his car, he slapped me and told me that I was a liar. After that, he just got worse. He would randomly just push me up against a wall if I annoyed him. He would constantly take my cell phone and start checking it. He even made me give him the password to my email. I decided that I was going to start recording all the abuse. I started recording all of our conversations and even set up a camera in my room. And of course, I had all this proof. One day I finally told him I didn't want to be with him anymore and he threatened me. I also told him that I was going to go to the police. Then he told me I would never be able to leave him and that no one would believe me because he never left bruises. That's when he started stalking me. He would also show up at my apartment and try to force his way in. He would grab me and try to kiss me and I would just push him away. So I finally went to the police. And I also went to the head of the school. I finally got a restraining order and the school expelled him. If you've experienced any of this, please get out of your relationship. Don't make my mistake.
Story time about when my mom caught me doing it with my best friend.
I was 16 at the time and there was this new boy that moved in across the street from us. He was super cute and I noticed him right away. My parents were super strict. I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend or even any guy friends, and I knew right away that I wanted to at least become this guy's friend because he was so cute. So one day I told my mom, hey, why don't we take cookies or something to welcome the new neighbors in town? And my mom was like, that's a great idea. So we end up going over and we meet them. They're really nice. And the cute boy comes downstairs and he tells his mom he's going to go to Bible study. Well, when we get home, I tell my mom, hey, you know what? Maybe I should join a Bible study group too. And my mom was like, great idea. She even told me to go ask him about it since he had mentioned it. One day he's mowing the lawn, so I decided to go talk to him and ask him about the Bible study group. He actually ended up taking me there that same day and we had a fun class. Over the next few weeks, we became really, really good friends. Best friends. We told each other everything. But there was always attraction between Part 2. So my neighbor, I'll call him Curtis, we're really good friends at this point, but we were always attracted to each other, but because we were in Bible study together and our parents were very religious, we kind of tried to stay away from anything. One day, we're in my house chilling in my room because I knew my mom wouldn't be home for a while, so I told him to just come upstairs. We ended up eating Pop-Tarts and watching a Netflix show. The whole time I was mustering the courage to tell him that I really liked him because I really felt that I wanted to be honest with him instead of just lying to him, and the whole reason why I even got into the Bible study group was to be with him, or at least spend time with him. So finally, I just blurted it out. I said, I like you, and I like you like a lot. He just stares at me blankly. He doesn't know what to say, and I could tell that he was kind of nervous. So I said, do you like me too? He said, yes, you know that I do. And then we started making out. This was the first time I'd ever been kissed, and it was the first time I'd ever had a boy in my room by myself. I kept thinking my mom could come home at any moment, so I told him that he should go home. Suddenly, we're on my bed, and we're doing things that I'd never done before. Suddenly, my door swings open, and guess who it is? My mom. Part 3. So my mom swings the door open, and she sees us on my bed doing stuff. Of course, I'm mortified. I'm super embarrassed. And I'm also embarrassed because I know how she's going to react in front of him. My mom, of course, just starts yelling her head off. Then we walk over to his house. She proceeds to tell his mom what we did. And then 5 minutes later, my dad walks into their house. I was really afraid of my dad. So now we're in their kitchen, and his parents and my parents are just staring us down and telling us that what we did was completely wrong. Then my dad starts saying that we need to get married. I can tell Curtis is freaking out. Of course, I'm freaking out too. His parents actually agree that we should get married. Thankfully, my mom was completely against it, and she said, absolutely not, they're too young. I literally felt like I was dying. I was obviously grounded for months, couldn't go anywhere, I couldn't do anything, and I obviously didn't speak to Curtis again. Then my mom tells me that Curtis and his family actually moved away. My heart was completely broken. A few years later in college, I contacted him through Facebook. We met up, and we've been together ever since. I knew that our connection back then was super strong, and it is now.
Story time about how he cheated on his baby mama with me. So a little background information. There was this boy, and we're going to call him John. John and I knew each other through one of our mutual friends. Well, 24/7, John would post sad quotes on his Snapchat story because him and his girlfriend had just broken up. So I decided that I was going to be Captain Save-A-Ho and be there for him, telling him it was okay and that everything happens for a reason. Well, eventually, John had developed a huge crush on me. Like, he would flirt with me 24/7, sending me all these cute emojis. And of course, my dumbass fell for it. So after talking for a little bit, him and I started dating. Well, the one day I was on Snapchat going through his story, and he was posting a bunch of funny memes on his story, and I was just laughing until I got to the last thing that he posted on his story. It was this picture of a baby girl saying, I can't wait to meet you from Dada. So with my crazy ass, I jumped on the phone and started cussing him out. And then he goes, what are you talking about? That's my little sister. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how he cheated on his baby mama with me. So like I said, when I confronted him about it, he said that it was a picture of his baby sister. Always with the Alabama shit. For what reason, I don't know. But he calls me the next day and he starts apologizing about everything. And then he decides to make a new Snapchat account and starts talking to me on there, thinking that I was just gonna block his other account. He posts a picture of his baby mama. So at this point, my Virgo self and I were done with the bullshit. By the way, he's a Gemini, so if that doesn't explain it, I don't know what will. So I start dating my new man, and I commented on all of his posts. I guess I'm not surprised she's not the only bitch you're fucking with. And if you try lying, I'm going to spill the tea. Like, I just think that it's really funny how females just think that their men are so loyal, even when you literally expose their man with every piece of evidence. Well, the girl who sent this in has a special message for all of us. I promise you that men ain't shit. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Goes me, 22 female, and my boyfriend, Jacob, 25 male, have been dating for 3 years. He's always been the fun, bubbly type person in the friend group. Always smiling, always laughing, always up for a chit chat. 6 months ago, January 2021, due to COVID, we haven't been able to travel anywhere, and we used to go on little weekends away. We live in Australia, and the country is back open for travel, so I was like, let's organize a little weekend away. He was all down for it. We went to the Hunter Valley, a winery region. I don't know what happened on that trip, but he has been depressed ever since. Doesn't laugh, doesn't smile, doesn't ever want to talk. It's like something clicked in his head and he just changed. There was no leading up to this. He then starts mentioning his ex.
Oh, okay, now it's starting to make sense.
We never really bring up our ex-partners. All I know is me and her are complete opposites. Taylor, she's blonde, 5'3", Australian Elle Woods. Me, brunette, 6 feet, farm girl.
6 feet?
Races
Go off,
dirt
queen.
bikes. Yeah, seriously. One night during sex, he called me Taylor.
Wait, the ex's name?
Yeah.
No.
Maybe a couple weeks after that, I was cooking dinner and he said, "Oh, Taylor would cut the bread this way." I kind of just ignored it because at this moment, he's in a really depressed state. He has made a few more comments saying Taylor did this or like this over the next 2 months. 3 months ago, in April 21, his dad passed away in a car accident, which sent him into just a spiral. It was the deepest part of his depression. I've never had a problem with his family. They're welcoming, always there if I need anything, very, very supportive. I'm there trying to support his mom because she just lost her husband by cooking meals, cleaning around the house. She said, "You've missed a spot on the floor over here." When Taylor would mop the floor, she wouldn't miss a spot.
What the fuck?
This made my blood boil. Another day, I had it over there. I was just wearing like sweats and a jumper, like I'm going to go cook food and don't need to be looking like $1 million. He said if Taylor was the rock at my house, she would look presentable. So I walked out. Am I the asshole for walking out?
No!
Will I be an asshole if I leave my depressed partner?
No!
Is she an asshole to compare me to one of his ex-partners?
Yes.
If you shop on Amazon, you should use this tool.